Right, okay. Should be streaming on Facebook and YouTube. All copyright free, Facebook. Yeah, I tell you, you are the bane of my life at the moment. Oh, it's an absolute nightmare trying to work my page. I guess it is streaming. I can see something streaming. I can see some of you are here. God bless you. Alice Hunter says, that noise is awful. Yeah. I think this is probably better. Huh? This is beautiful. Okay, I'm going to shut up. See you at the top of the hour, folks. Just fill it in. Oh, come on. Oh dear. I must download this again. It's a beautiful track. This track is how I feel, people. We're not going to get... What am I going to call the show after Brexit? I guess I've got a bit of time to think about that. Daily chaos, and I'll tell you what, the sooner the better. you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward about 11 minutes, 10 and a half. Just queuing up the news. And if you're watching live, coming up in 10 minutes. Please share the show, people. Auto ab KO, Jamie. Auto ab KO. And hey everybody, look, you might want to bookmark my YouTube channel because I wouldn't be at all surprised if Facebook canned the Daily Brexit page or made it pretty much inoperable when I'm in London, and I don't know how long I'm going to be there, and kind of depends on what happens. So that is youtube.com/Daily Brexit. I'll put it in the comments. Okay, warming up. Oh, blimey. Okay, roll up for the 29th, people. Roll up. I've got my whistle. Hey, Robin.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, all right.
Cool. Couple of minutes then. Yeah, got your video. Superb. Can you turn the volume off on your tab on your browser, please?
What?
Turn the volume off on the web browser.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought I got it off.
That's all right. You're looking very lovely tonight, sir. Oh.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, this is us, yeah. Marching down Old Kenny High Street in Parliament Square. Waving at Kensington Palace, they'll be rattling their jewellery. Being bloody useless. Hi, share the show, folks. Share the show. God bless you. Oh, that's a cue. There's a cue. Hey, folks. Good evening, good people. And welcome to the Daily Brexit. Daily bloody something. Daily bollocks. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, lawful rebellion. They've asked for it. They've begged for it. They're gonna get it. And So it was thus. The revolution starts 11 p.m. GMT this Friday, the 29th. God help us. No more bollocks. WTO deal Brexit. Democracy must stand. Robin Horsley from the Great Brexit Debate has joined me to talk about a very British peaceful revolution set in place by an anti-democratic UK Parliament that has been bought by EU fascists and globalist plutocrats. MEP Bill Etheridge has a message. We'll hear the latest on the go slows from Dave Horny Simpson. Who knows who else may call in? Maybe you. This is it, folks. The precipice of history when we, the people, take back control. Peacefully, with resilience, with good humour, and with great British blitz spirit. And I've run out of theme tune. Right, okay, Robin Horsley. Hello, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Ollie.
I guess you've been checking out what's going on in the comments today, because to be honest with you, I've just given up on them.
Yeah, no, I've been following a bit of it. Not completely. I was out this afternoon, so I was just sort of catching up for the last hour. Right. And particularly I've been catching up on the collapse of the ERG and the collapse of the Conservatives.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. We'll come on to that. We will come on to it, and I guess the big story of the day is that the establishment, led by this treasonous government. I mean, I know it's not technical treason, as Robin Tilbrook pointed out last night, but it is absolute betrayal of the British people. What they're doing are telling us now, through their voice box of propaganda, the BBC and all the rest of the shagrags and so on and so forth, that Theresa May is willing to fall on her sword, provided that the Tory party will, and the DUP will back her deal. I mean, Robin, for crying out loud, the problem is not this woman, horrendous, non-representative as she is. The problem is her deal, and they're still selling it to us, or trying to sell it to us as a Brexit deal. You listen to the BBC, folks, every time on the newscast, that lovely Hugh Edwards with his gorgeous Welsh brogue, butter couldn't melt in his mouth, telling us it's a Brexit deal. It's not a Brexit deal. Robin, you tell me, what's your take on this, please?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right what you just say. The mythology that this is Brexit is still going on. The idea that this is still Brexit is still what they're trying to push out, and therefore, if her deal doesn't go through, we've lost Brexit. No, if her deal goes through, we've lost Brexit. Full stop. It's terrible to see the way that the Conservative Party is collapsing, and really what's happened this afternoon is that she's gone to the meeting with the 1922 committee and has told them that she will resign once Brexit goes through. So that would assume that people would vote for the withdrawal agreement, and then May 22nd it would go through, and then basically there'd be a leadership election over the summer. And as a response to that, they're all jostling for position.
I don't want to go through too much of the news tonight, because we've got a lot to get through. We've got a bit of planning to do, haven't we? But I will just go through this top story from Breitbart, which essentially covers what we've just been talking about. Government held hostage by Remain ministers as Parliament prepares to vote on future of Brexit. Britain's government, in name only, they say, has been, and correctly, has been warned by anti-Brexit cabinet ministers that it will face further resignations if it does not give them a free hand to vote against Britain leaving the European Union today. Following Parliament's successful bid to take more power from Theresa May's government on Monday, British lawmakers will have the opportunity to vote on a number of so-called indicative votes later today, while the votes which are not guaranteed to be decisive and have in the past led to a total stalemate when no one option was chosen over the others, are being treated with the high importance by the Westminster media political establishment, it is not clear whether the government will even accept the results. They are not binding. Robin, what do you foresee happening this evening? What are these votes? Actually, you know what? Do we care? I mean, none of it's going to be Brexit by the looks of it.
Well, only one of them is really, yeah. Uh-huh. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possible things to vote on this evening. Do you want me to run through them, Molly?
Please, yes, please do.
Okay, so there is option B is the first one that's been selected. So there's a whole bunch of them that went forward to the Speaker, and then he came up with this final 8. Mm-hmm. So option B has been put forward by John Barron, who's a strong leaver, and that is the no deal option.
Mm-hmm. Good. Somebody on our side. They haven't all said that they're going to back Theresa May's deal. Because, I mean, it looks like they are, no? Even Moggy. Sorry, carry on, please. Please, Ron.
Yeah. So they've all got... So basically the idea is that MPs have been given a ballot paper, unusually. And so this won't be voted on by MPs going through the lobbies. They will fill out a ballot paper, and the ballot paper will contain all these options on them, and they'll start voting on those. And then, in fact, the way in which they'll hand the ballot papers in is half of the MPs will go through the aye lobby and half will go through the no lobby, and they'll hand in their papers, and then they'll all be counted. Now, MPs were particularly concerned, some MPs this afternoon were particularly concerned that there shouldn't be a secret ballot, and the Speaker committed to publishing the result of all the votes, so we will know which MPs voted for which option. I think that's absolutely critical that we do know that.
Yes.
So shall I, Ollie, do you want me to just carry on and go through all the other options?
Yes. Please,
okay.
Please do.
I'll be quick about it because there's quite a lot of them. So option D is Norway Plus, which is remain in the customs union and the single market. That's put forward by Nick Bowles, the outgoing Member of Parliament, Nick Bowles, and I say that because he's going to lose his seat at the next election.
Yeah, I hope so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll give that one a... Okay, carry on.
Yeah. Option H, which is from George Eustace, is very similar. It's EEA plus EFTA. So EFTA is the European Free Trade Area.
Yes. So
trade disputes are settled through not through the European courts, but through the EFTA courts, so that's slightly better.
Well, hold on a sec. With that one, that basically presumably ends up with the ECJ again, the European Court of Justice. Plus, how would that affect our trade options with, for example, the United States, who want to do a deal with us? And Donald Trump is poised to do it now that he's got rid of that ruddy Mueller report crap. Sorry, carry on.
It will be very limited. As soon as we're, the EEA and EFTA, it basically means being in the customs union, yeah, or the single market. Sorry,
yeah.
So that's that, and then J
hold on, give that one up. Okay, carry on, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
J is stay in the customs union. That's put forward by Ken Clark. Again.
Ken Clark. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
K is put forward by Jeremy Corbyn, and that is.
Hold on. What does Ken Clark want? What does Ken Clark? Is he wanting? Is his proposition for the British government to be taken over by the Bilderberg Committee or what?
No, just to stay in the customs union.
Right.
That's his take.
So
these things are a little bit, they're quite overlapping. Some of these things, and the option K is Jeremy Corbyn, and that is to stay in a customs union and to align EU rights. And regulations. So that's a kind of customs union plus type proposition, which is, meets with Labour Party policy, not their manifesto commitment, but Labour Party policy now.
Okay.
Because obviously they've torn up their manifesto, like the Conservatives have.
Not Brexit again. Go on, please.
Option L is the biggie. It's the revoke Article 50, and there's a lady called Joanna Cherry MP, who I've never heard of. I doubt very much whether she exists in anything other than her own imagination.
Right.
So she has chosen to, as we were discussing earlier in the week, I think, or last week was it? Somebody very brave has to sort of take this option on. So she She is Joanna Cherry.
Right,
I've just been looked up. She is Edinburgh South West is her constituency.
Right.
She's SNP politician.
Yeah.
Her constituency is 72% Remain.
Right.
And she's put forward, therefore, you notice there's no bravery from other members of Parliament.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to bring. They've let Joanna Cherry bring forward the
poor lass. Poor lass. I mean, in fairness to her, okay, so in her constituency, she's actually representing them. 408 of 650 constituencies voted to leave. So, I mean, at least in her case, they voted to stay. And so from her point of view, I can understand why she'd want to push that. And she is actually representing her constituents. But on the other hand, for Buck to pull that and to say that that is somehow democratic is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think what it illustrates, though, is the fact that it's come forward from an unknown SNP MP. I think it illustrates the strength, actually, that the Leavers actually have, in that no Remain MP really wants to bring this forward. They don't really want to. They don't want the electorate to have this gotcha moment.
Yeah, that's right.
Of identifying that these people are actually trying to overthrow democracy. Yeah. And we saw that in the vote last week. I mean, what was it? I think it was about 85 votes only that came in for a second referendum, wasn't it? Didn't actually have an option for revoking, but we had an option for a second referendum. That's right. So I think that's where the strength
which went
is
down in flames, didn't it? It got about 80 votes to about 320 against or something, with about lots of abstentions. But nonetheless, carry on, please.
Okay, and then the final two, we've got option M for Mother, which is the second referendum option, which is put forward by Margaret Beckett, Labour MP. Again, don't think that'll do very well. And then we've got option O.
What is that? What does she want? What's she after this time? That
second referendum.
Second referendum. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, hold on a sec. We'll give that up. Right, carry on, please.
And then the final one is, and this is quite an interesting one, this is a standstill to give time for a proper trade deal to be negotiated. This is from Marcus Fish, MP. I met Marcus, I think January time. Met him when we were filming for the Bruges group at one of the Bruges meetings in Westminster. He's a very, very thoughtful guy. He's pretty principled. I haven't seen him be one of those people who sort of collapsed and is prepared to vote for the Prime Minister's deal. I hope he'll not prove me wrong tonight and change that. But so his proposition is a standstill, is to say to the EU, right, we need to stop in order to negotiate a trade deal. Because, of course, the big problem with the withdrawal agreement has always been that, we were supposed to be negotiating a trade deal. Yeah. There's no trade deal negotiated in the withdrawal agreement. It doesn't contain a trade deal. That's the real problem, is the real disaster. If members of Parliament sign up for Theresa May's deal this week, later on this week, they're talking about bringing it to Parliament on Friday. Normally not a sitting day, but it looks like they're going to be. Which will be quite interesting with all the marches going on in Westminster. But they're talking about bringing it on Friday, and I think that'll create a situation where if MPs vote for it, we are stuck into a sort of 2 to 4 year period, an absolute minimum, where we've got unbelievable uncertainty. That's when the economic impact will hit. Because, I was watching the chief executive of M&C Saatchi, the advertising agency, being interviewed earlier today, and he said actually, they've been doing remarkably well over the last year, 2 years. He was just announcing his financial results. Their profits are up, but he said, in terms of longer term strategic planning, everybody's sitting on their hands because they want some certainty, and they're not going to get it. If MPs vote for this deal, they're not going to get it. We're stuck into another 2 to 4 years of uncertainty, even longer possibly.
Okay,
Anyway,
so
that's
that one though, that doesn't sound very pro-Brexit, does it? Really? I mean, it kind of would have done 2.5 years ago, maybe, because as you say, or as you insinuated, she should have refused any talks at all without discussing trade, i.e., parallel talks, so that you sort out the divorce and then they can do an audit. Which is what happens in a divorce, yeah? They do an audit on both sides. You work out who's got what and who owes what. And then we've never had any audit. We've never even had a single audit that's been signed off by an accountable person prepared to go to prison if they lie from the EU. It's never, ever happened. Yet we've spent, what? How much have we put into it? About £500 billion into this fascist construct. Now, she should have done that, shouldn't she? She should have said, parallel talks or we just go. And that's it. Because, you know what? I've got to protect the country. It was a lot of money at stake. With 3 years of austerity is this 39 billion for starters. Plus how much we got, how much exposure in the ECB. I think it's about 11 billion or something. I don't know. Robin, tell me if I'm wrong. But we got all sorts of dosh that is somehow invested with them. Plus, we've been investing in all their bloody buildings because they couldn't decide whether they want to be in Strasbourg or, I don't know, where what is it, built, wherever bloody hell it is. And all of that. So, anyway, she didn't do that. We know why she didn't do that, because she's a moron, and she never wanted us to take us out. And it's all been a big... And then Tony Blair goes off and has a chat with Macron in Paris and says, let's work out how we can, confuse the whole thing with this Northern Ireland peace accord thing, throw that in, even though the Irish don't want a border, even though the English, the British, the Scots, the British, we don't want a border, and even the EU, as Nigel Farage correctly said in the EU Parliament today in Strasbourg this morning, which wasn't broadcast on the BBC. They did have Tusk on and Voda, whatever his bloody name is, and all the rest of it. But he wasn't he didn't have Farage when he was saying that actually, that's just a complete charade, a complete charade. Didn't get any of that. But the bottom line is surely that if you're going to have a sensible arrangement moving forward, yes, of course, business needs certainty. Everybody wants certainty. People want certainty from the point of view of traveling and so on and so forth. Plus, you know what? We like our neighbours, don't we? We hate the politicians, but there's nothing wrong with the people. And look at this, yellow vest, ready for Friday, yeah? In solidarity with other people around this continent that are facing the same kind of problems. Oh, God, I've lost my track now. I was having a bit of a rant. But the bottom line is that you do not enter into this kind of situation without working out the trade. And she failed to do that. It's so clear as day. So this guy, you're saying to me, Robin, that he's now setting out a proposal tonight that does allow for what she should have done. She's not a moron. She's very bright. She knew what she was doing 2.5 years ago. That was quite a long question, wasn't it?
Sorry, I lost you there for a minute.
It's all right, Robin. But this guy that you say is quite a thoughtful chap, he's putting forward something which basically says we need to go right back to the drawing board from square one, and we can talk about the withdrawal agreement, but it's got to be in parallel talks with trade. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what Marcus Fisher's put forward, and I don't think it'll happen. Be interesting to see what kind of support it gets. He's one of the ERG group, but yeah, and by doing so, at least he kind of highlights, as you said, part of the big problem here is, we don't have to go that far back to remember the phrase "nothing is agreed until everything is agreed." Yeah. Yet we are now in this position of supposedly we're going to pay out 39 billion, and that's just to take us until the end of December 2020. We're going to pay out 39 billion just for that period, and then the withdrawal agreement actually says for the period after that. So if the transition period is extended, and I'd be amazed if it wasn't, that can be extended for another 2 years, and then the agreement basically says the EU can decide what we got to pay. It says in the agreement, it says they can determine what our share of the EU budget should be, and they can just decide that themselves. So we could just wind up with a huge multi-billion-pound bill and still get to the end of that period and not have any resolution.
There's no
pressure. There's no pressure whatsoever on the EU. And I think what's most likely is, we either then into the backstop scenario, but we could quite easily be in a scenario where we still haven't resolved anything, and therefore we still have to negotiate another extension period. Just because it doesn't say it in the agreement doesn't mean it can't be done. So it's, do you know what I mean? The whole
absolutely beggars belief. Just to clarify what I was trying to, and then got confused with my rhetoric or whatever about Nigel Farage. What he said in Strasbourg earlier was that the Northern Ireland peace accord is just a complete red herring, and it's actually proven by the fact that the EU document that they've produced in the event of there being a no deal allows for there being no border at all. Northern Ireland. No border. They're allowing for it in that planning, and therefore, why is this backstop an issue in the first place? And that is the single issue that all of this Remoron establishment has been using to sucker us into this May deal, as opposed to saying to the EU, talk, trade, or bugger off. Am I being unfair somehow? Am I being a fascist, right-wing, nasty person? I don't know. You, Robin?
Well, no, exactly. I mean, Andrea Leadsom made the point weeks and weeks ago that if the EU are so desperate to avoid this supposed hard border in Northern Ireland, why are they trying to force us towards a no-deal scenario? Because that is what would happen. By being inflexible, by not being prepared to open the agreement or negotiate any of the terms of the agreement, they're making that far more likely, yet they say that's a disastrous outcome. And that just kind of illustrated how ludicrous that whole proposition was.
Absolutely.
So, it's always been a red herring. We've talked about it before, Olly, haven't we? We've said, it's always a red herring. It could always be taken out at any point if they want to. They could quite easily take it out, which is why I don't think it's particularly significant. I mean, can I just maybe come on to this point? I mean, last night, when I realised, roughly the same time as I think you did, that Jacob Rees-Mogg had folded.
Foggy Moggy. Go on, please.
So he wrote a piece, didn't he, that appeared early hours this morning or late last night.
In the Daily Fail.
And in it he said, basically, if the DUP vote for the deal, then so will he. He's modified that position this evening to, if the DUP simply abstain, he'll vote for the deal still.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, what has he been offered? Has he been offered a peerage? That fabricant, I think it's with an A, that he also is caved, hasn't he?
Well, they are literally rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic now, and they're all sort of rushing for position to put the deck chair in the place they want it. For that moment when Theresa May goes, they're completely self-obsessed with that nonsense. There's all kinds of... It's quite interesting. I knew kind of what would happen. I wrote a very strongly worded piece and put it on my site, Great Brexit Debate, and I knew it would be divisive because I know that, particularly with a figure like Jacob Rees-Mogg, there's a lot of loyalty to him out there. Yeah. And people will... When told that Jacob Rees-Mogg has folded and is betraying all of us, people will come up with all kinds of wild theories to try and excuse what he's done.
Can I just make a brief interjection there?
Yeah.
Bugger the personalities. It's the cause. It's the policy that matters. Bugger Boris, May, Moggy, Farage, anyone doing shows like this, bugger us. It's the cause. It's Brexit. It's getting our sovereignty. That is all that matters. Be a proud floating voter. Vote for independence, whatever. Kick out, deselect that bloody MP. No party loyalty now. We should see the poison that is party politics. Come on. Sorry, just wanted to say that. Please.
No, I completely agree. I think for those who are come hell or high water voters who will vote for one political party, I think there's something deeply wrong with that, because I think if you think that the Conservative Party is always the answer, they have a monopoly on all the good ideas, then you're halfway to autocracy. You're halfway to something deeply undemocratic.
Yeah.
The fact is that the whole point of democracy is it should be a battle of ideas.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm afraid the Conservative Party is just a battle for internal positioning at the moment, and they are completely giving up the ghost. I mean, again, Boris has collapsed this evening and said that he'll support the Prime Minister. He hasn't even bothered putting any conditions on it. He's just said he will. These are all the people who said, "Oh no, we won't sign up to a customs union." They're signing up to a customs union.
Yeah.
We will not. We wouldn't. We are principled people. We wouldn't for a moment enter into anything that allowed the backstop and the union to be pulled apart. Well, that's exactly what they're doing.
And they do, and it's a red herring anyway, as the EU have proven by saying, if there's no deal, we're not going to allow Ireland to suffer by there being a border which would affect their trade, and would be a problem within the EU. They have been pragmatic in that document, and yet they're holding us to ransom over it. If there's, with this deal with their mate Theresa May, who went and discussed this deal with Merkel before she even discussed it with her own cabinet. And for all we know, Merkel was the one that designed the deal anyway. I tell you, look, Robin, I just want to play what it seems to me is pretty much the where we are at the moment. It's just a kind of a bit of an average story. This could be so many people at the moment in this whole metropolitan bollocks scenario, bollocks parliamentary, to use the parliamentarian. And this is, for example, on Guido Fawkes, which I don't particularly like. It's all fake. All of them are fake. And this is a big Tory rag, really, is Guido Fawkes. But nonetheless, they've got this video clip here. Nigel Evans, to pass the deal, May must resign. Now, this is the average thing that they're talking about. Let's listen to this and then discuss it a bit.
And there are a lot of MPs could possibly run over to get her deal over the line if then she says that she will, here's my departure timetable, this is what it's going to be. I won't be anywhere near the future trading relationship discussions.
Is that what she's going to have to do this evening?
I hope so.
In order to get the support?
My own belief is yes, to win sufficient support from some of the more... I know Vicky's not in the ERG. I am. I follow their WhatsApp group. A lot of people have peeled off, from Jacob Rees-Mogg today, front page of the Daily Mail, through to Cheryl Murray, fishing constituency in Cornwall. These people have really held firm up until today, and now they're coming over. And I believe that there are another group there that could come over if they had the encouragement to know that the Prime Minister's deal has got through. She's going. Then there will be a leadership election. It doesn't need to be an interim leader. It can be done very timely, no rush, very respectful. The MPs can come up with 2 candidates that would go to the membership, and the membership will decide. So,
I thought we did decide. Okay, I mean, this is the thing they're trying to do. They are basically saying that, we'll do something to appease the British people. We'll get rid of this woman that nobody likes, and then they'll be happy with her deal. As though she is the fundamental problem. She is a problem. She's an enormous problem. She shouldn't be allowed. The woman should not be allowed, full stop. But the bottom line is that her deal is significantly worse than her. I just find it incredible, this is disingenuity, this duplicity, Robin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a completely nonsensical situation, and I think somebody like Nigel Evans to be saying stuff like this as if we care about the internal wrangling of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
It's not relevant, and it pales into such insignificance for real people compared to the real question about leaving the EU. It's right. Just ridiculous.
That's right. They've got a story here on FTIC, another Europhile rag. Tory party faces cash crunch as pressure grows on May. That's the kind of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, as though the British public really give a stuff about a British party in comparison to their country and culture. Telegraph, Brexit latest. Theresa May tells MPs she will stand down as Prime Minister if they back her Brexit deal. You see, even they're doing it, the Telegraph. This is a rag that reckons that it is for the people, that it wants democracy, the Telegraph. And some of them do. I genuinely think they do. That Moore bloke and one or two others, I think they genuinely are, patriots. But as a whole, it's just another moron rag. And they prove it here in this headline. Look at this. The devil is in the detail, people. Brexit deal. If they back her Brexit deal. It's like conditioning. It's actually called the hypodermic needle effect. I learned about this sometime when I was studying. The hypodermic needle effect, where they give you a needle into Brexit deal, Brexit deal, Brexit deal, Brexit deal. Actually, it's a treaty, and it's got nothing to do with Brexit. It's a complete lie.
Tell us more about that.
Go on,
Olly.
What's that? You want to hear a bit of the story?
It's a really interesting. From a journalist's point of view, you may take this stuff for granted, but most of us who've never studied journalism and look at it from the outside, we don't really understand how the distortions occur. I mean, I've done PR, I've worked with PR companies as well, so I get some insights into it, but most people haven't. Go take us back to basics. Explain to us how things are distorted.
Well, I'll show you. Okay, let's go through today's rags. This is the papers today, Daily Telegraph. Tories tell May to set her exit date today. Well, that's distraction, because she is not the issue. The issue is the fact that they are trying to railroad us into an EU treaty. That's the story, against the wishes of the British people. So that is a direct lie, a distraction. We saw it with Trump. A very, very good example. We've had 2 years of anti-Trump propaganda because a bunch of, people going like this. Oh dear.
That's you, not me.
because they don't like him. They are determined to get rid of him because they feel that maybe he is a threat to their fiefdoms, to the deep state, to plutocracy, to fascism. To their kind of fascism. I don't entirely trust Trump here. I don't know. But I tell you what, the more I hear people in the media, who I know are full of it, giving him a hard time, the more I think, well, you know what, he must be on side. It's what they do every day. Bash him. It's like on Newsnight every night. It's not a news show anymore. It's more like an EU committee for Brino. It's just incredible. You watch it, and they're talking about every reference almost to Theresa May's deal. Never treaty, which is what the EU call it. And for example, Farage is correctly calling it as a treaty. Not that I totally trust Farage either, by the way. But as I said to his PR person earlier when we had a bit of a spat on over email, because I wonder if he wants to be interviewed by anybody that isn't the BBC and so on and so forth. But every day, for example, on Newsnight, they're not talking about the deal. They're talking about the Brexit deal or the deal for Brexit, when it plainly is not. But if they do this enough, you, me, we are conditioned. And that is how it works. That's how the media does their job to pollute us and to poison us. Foodstuffs. You go into a supermarket and you get labeling for things that you consume. There should be health warnings and wealth warnings, in my opinion, on these bloody news, on these shag rags, that are selling us their tits and arse and all the rest of it and distracting us with Big Brother. How ironic is that, for example, when the truth is that there are things that are affecting our lives that we need. The running order is another thing. They play with a running order. Half the news we don't even hear about. They didn't even tell us about the UN Migration Pact. They don't talk about Tim Fortescue saying how, actually, we got into the EEC because, you know what? Guess what? We bribed a load of paedophiles. They said, if you don't back Heath and the government policy to get us into the EEC, Tim Fortescue, he didn't quite use those words. He did say boy rape, He did talk about paedophile MPs, being used to support the government. It just happened to be the government that took us into the EEC. When have you ever heard about that on the BBC? He was sharing, he was desk sharing, he was a colleague, a fellow whip to Ken Clarke. Ken Clarke's first term as an MP in the early 70s under that Heath government. When have you ever seen any journalist hack? Have you any of you seen any journalists who said to Ken Clarke, I'm a bit worried about this, sir, because you must know about that Whip's Black Book, and you must know that there were a whole load of paedophiles that were being bribed to support government policy. Just so happened to be the government that took us into the EEC. They never talk about the FCO 301048, a document from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office that said we would be losing all of our sovereignty. Guess what?
So Olly, how does that work inside a media company? Let's say you're working for a broadcaster or the press media, and you're a journalist who sort of wants to, go off the editorial line, if you like. I mean, how does it work? How do you
get sacked? And by the way, I did. I got sacked all the time. I used to work for the BBC. I worked for a load of alphabet soup type places and what have you. And the bottom line is you either toe the line or your contract isn't renewed. It's as simple as that. That's why these people are jobsworths. They put their, and I can kind of understand it. I personally refrained, but I can kind of understand the pressure that they're under because their career will be very, very good if they, toe the line and do as they're told and don't muck up the dust and all the rest of it.
And how far does that go back in terms of the hierarchy? Is that, I can imagine if it's a Murdoch paper, then what Murdoch says goes. He hires the editor. That's right. The editorial line is known, and then that spans through. But how does that work in an organisation like the BBC?
It's the pyramid system, and it works all the way down. It works. Look at The Guardian here. May under pressure to step aside to secure backing for Brexit deal. It's not a Brexit deal. This is the hypodermic needle effect. And then they're distracting us by, rich envy or something with this big story about the $16 million penthouse fit for a UK civil servant. Like it affects the average person on the street, And then we've got all this kind of politically correct crap that they bring into it. I hear, independent, whatever it is, PM a victim of sexism, allies claim. Oh, yeah, probably by privileged white men. Yeah. Daily Mail, Mog, sorry, I will back May's deal. It's the EU call it a treaty, Moggy. It's just incredible, unbelievable. Jacob Rees-Mogg today urges hardline Eurosceptics to back Theresa May or face losing Brexit altogether. There's no Brexit here. We are far, far better off saying, you know what, let's call off the whole thing and have another referendum, actually, than having her deal. God, I don't want that, but it's much better her deal because under the deal that the treaty that she wants, it could be that we can't ever get out without them saying, oh yeah, you know what, we'll release you now. If you were a business, I'm useless at business here. I understand words, I know journalism. I'm useless with business. Robin, you understand business better than me. What would you ever dream of giving one of your business competitors the keys to your business and saying, you know what, you have that for now. When you're ready, give them back to me.
Yeah. No, of course not. No. It's quite interesting. I went to interview Lord Tebbit a while back.
Yeah.
Really very, very interesting to meet a guy who's been there and done it in every part of politics, and has paid a terrible price for with his wife's injury in the 1984 bombing of the Grand Hotel in Brighton. Paid a terrible price for his political involvement. That got to the point in the interview, and I was talking about what the cost would be of delaying Brexit. And I asked him, I said to him, from a business perspective, how do you feel about this? How do you feel this is going to affect business? And he said he sat there for a minute. He didn't say a word, and then he just said to me, he said, "Look, I'm not a business person. I can't answer that." And I thought, Yeah, that's absolutely right. Even somebody who's been around for as long as he has, they really can't see it. They really cannot quite grasp what devastation they're wreaking on the British economy with all of this uncertainty. I mean, it's right. Extraordinary.
It's criminal.
It shows you how robust the economy is. That
yes.
It hasn't had the impact, anything like the
That's
impact.
right. The economy is still doing quite well. It goes to show how good the Brits are at business, how entrepreneurial we are.
King Clark said when he was Chancellor, he said, any lever I pull now, you as a Chancellor of the Exchequer, he said, you won't see the result of for 2 years or more. And that's the thing. That's exactly how it works. It's they're very distant. The Treasury, the government is very distant, really, from most aspects of the economy. And the stuff that they do today will only be felt a number of years down track. But this will be felt. Now, if we go into yet another 2 or 4, even 4 years or even longer period of stagnation, effectively, with investment and long-term decision making, it will have an economic impact. We don't have a parallel universe that will ever be able to compare with it and therefore see what the difference would have been. And therefore you do kind of have to understand some basic business and economics to be able to really appreciate how damaging this is. But it's really simple. If you were thinking of moving house at the moment, you don't know what to do you? If you're thinking of building an extension on your house, well, are you going to get your money back if you want to sell your house later? Because what's it going to be worth? Those sort of decisions that we might make as individuals, because we don't know if the market's going to go up, down, sideways. We don't know what's going to happen. That we sit on our hands, and that's exactly what businesses are doing. And in a global economy, we can't really afford our nation to be doing that for any longer than we can possibly afford to do so, because they're not innovating, we're not developing new ideas, products, we're not investing.
Yes.
So that's the damage we're doing.
So okay,
that's my business friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I totally agree. So, let's take a few comments and see what folks are saying. And I know I'm ranting a bit. I'll tell you, I'm just so bloody sick of it. Okay, right. Some comments. Warren Whiteley, her treaty is a declaration of war. Christopher Michael Baxter, it is only a withdrawal removal treaty. Amanda Howard, I plan to, I don't know, but that's to somebody else. Chelsea Bob, I want an election. Anthony Pobiatsin says MPs are now getting pissed in Parliament bar, all for free. Michelle Reed, May's deal reinstates the European Communities Act and ECJ. Robin, would you please explain that comment?
That's not quite. Yes, Michelle's correct. May's deal in itself doesn't do that. It doesn't reinstate the European Communities Act. But what will follow will be legislation in Parliament that will reinstate it. So the European Communities Act is the 1972 Act of Parliament, by which that is the key sort of legal instrument that ties us to the European Union. And the Withdrawal Act, which was passed in 2018, repeals that, and it did repeal it on exit day, which was 29th of March, and which is now the 12th of April, assuming we don't have a deal. Mm-hmm. And that would mean, therefore, that the European Communities Act would be repealed. However, as has been exposed by Bill Cash and by Sir Keir Starmer on the Labour side and various others, the plan, if the withdrawal agreement is voted for between now and May the 22nd, is for Parliament to, or for the government to propose to Parliament a withdrawal agreement implementation bill, WAIB, WAB as it's being called. Yeah. And that, at the moment, there's only a white paper, but there is a government website with a white paper on it. If you type in to Google the WAB, the Withdrawal Agreement Implementation Bill, you'll see there's a white paper there which really just describes it in very sketchy terms. One of the things that Bill Cash MP has been complaining about is that the draft text for that bill has not been published, so it can't be scrutinised yet. But the idea of it is to effectively repeal the repeal of the 1972 Communities Act. So we're back in, and this is the fundamental thing that this deal really just takes us back in. It's an instrument by which will then be taken back in. So there's lots of kind of battles in Parliament ahead over that.
I wanted to ask you about this in a bit more detail because Robin Tilbrook was on last night, as you know, the chairman of the English Democrats Party, discussing his court case. And I asked him about Bill Cash's intervention on precisely this matter in the Commons, in the House. And he said that was not helpful because Bill Cash was actually giving the government ideas as to what they needed to do to get around any potential legal problems down the road. What would you say to that?
Well, yeah, I listened into most of the show last night, actually, because I was interested to see what Robin came back with after you spoke to him the previous week. I mean, I'd certainly take his point about Bill Cash, but I think I'm not sure what Bill is up to. I think Bill may have another plan, and the idea that Robin's response to it is the only game in town, I think, is probably wrong. I think there are lots of government
ideas as to what. Excuse me. Apologies. You. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, what about Robin Tilbrook's plan? What do you think of? Because he's basically suing on the basis, and I guess he can't be absolutely certain what to do until 11 o'clock on Friday, when we're supposed to be coming out, and only then will he be absolutely sure as to whether or not his court case is viable. But certainly it looks as though it is, almost certainly is. Theresa May has told us that she's extending, and so unless there's some kind of a miracle, his court case is presumably valid. But I don't know. What do you think? Go on.
Well, look. One, I think we have to accept that the judiciary is politicised to a certain extent.
Yes.
I'm not sure that the judiciary would necessarily want to find on his side of it. I mean, interestingly, I was watching Nigel Farage on LBC just before you went live with Robin Tilbrook last night, and somebody phoned in and mentioned Robin's case.
Yes.
And asked Nigel Farage what he thought about it, and Farage said pretty much what I've just said, actually, which didn't surprise me at all. I thought he'd probably have that kind of similar view that we can't really depend on the judiciary for this. People at the time when the Gina Miller case went through said that the reason this occurred was because the judiciary were politicised, and I think that's fair. I mean, what we're really arguing about is there's a thing called a statutory instrument. Now, statutory instruments are legal instruments that go through the Houses of Parliament on a daily basis, and they allow modifications to acts of Parliament. So if you pass an act of Parliament and you enable statutory instruments to vary particular terms of that act retroactively, so after the event, after the act has been passed, then you pass statutory instruments. And that is what I think supposedly the statutory instrument is just going through the Houses of Parliament now. I've actually turned off my iPlayer, so I don't know what's going on in Parliament at the moment. But the statutory instrument will say basically the date's changing to seen what was said. I'm sorry, let me just turn that sound off. So the statutory instrument says that it's the dates change from being March 29th to instead being 12th of April or May the 22nd, depending on what the outcome is of the withdrawal agreement vote. That's what the statutory instruments say. There's been various arguments. People said, "Oh no, you've got to be specific about a date with a statutory instrument." Well, I'm not sure you do actually. Not seen that from any major legal authority that's managed to prove that. And what Robin's case and Bill Cash's case.
This is up to the discretion of the High Court.
Yeah, that's right. And what their case revolves around is that what the government should have done is got Parliament's permission first, and then gone to the EU Council. But until they'd gone to the EU Council, they couldn't know what was negotiable. So it has made sense for them to pass the statutory instrument afterwards. So effectively to get Parliament to agree to it in the form of passing a statutory instrument. So they're arguing about which was the correct order to do it in. And I'm not a legal mind, but it seems fairly flaky to me. It seems like it's not. This could go either way. I mean, I don't think it's got the degree of certainty that people hope it has attached to it. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it's
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer either. I have to say that Robin came across very, very well discussing it.
He does.
He clearly does know his stuff, but how hopeful at the end of the day he does have to get the High Court on side, and how, as you say, how politicised they are.
And he has to sound hopeful, doesn't he? I mean, at the end of the day, he may be a solicitor, but he's a salesman at the moment. He's a salesman selling the opportunity that he needs people to come up with at least 25 grand so he can afford to hire a barrister in order to run this case.
He has put a lot of his own time into this, though, pro bono.
Yeah,
and so...
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's take. I don't know. Somebody asked me earlier, what did I think? I said, I don't know. We will know more, I would have thought, off the back of the 29th. And I will definitely be talking to Robin Tilsbrook next week to find out where we're going.
The bottom line is, though, the way I look at it is, look, it's worth a punt. Mm-hmm. And if you've got 50 quid or 100 quid and you can afford to punt in that direction, then yeah, why not? Absolutely. But I just don't think we should sort of, hold out this as being the great hope that we should all depend on. Nothing matters at the moment because it'll all be resolved in the courts later. Well, I'm sorry, I don't think we can depend on that at all.
No. And that is why. And by the way, this show's going on for another 40 minutes because we haven't even discussed the theme yet. Lawful rebellion. That is why the 29th is so important. Now, I'm going to take a few comments and then we're going to get into that. And I'm not really going to bother too much more with what's going on with these amendments because you know what? It's just it's a big charade, isn't it? It's a big charade. We've been covering it at length. I've been covering all the detail, the minutiae, what, the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg has been saying here and there and everywhere. And it turns out, for what? Ultimately, it's all been a crock of crap. And so, you know what? Anyway, Thomas White, Chelsea Bob. No, it's not legal to do so. Okay, that's something to Chelsea Bob. I don't know this within. I wouldn't have the gist. Glynis, that's gone. Parliament are currently going to vote for the extension. Oh, that's gone too. Sorry, that's. You're commenting too fast, people. God bless you. Michelle Reed, you wouldn't be able to drive your car for a week and then get insurance. Things need to be done in the order stipulated. Charlotte Jameson, Robert Tilbrook is all we have right now. Well, no, Charlotte, what we do have. Yes, you're right. He's what he has is a substantial part of what we have now. But on the other hand, I think we've got something far, 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 far bigger. And that is people, us. All we need to do is to keep spreading awareness and to get there on the 29th, be streaming, because the BBC isn't doing it, and just educating. I know it's the same old thing. I've been rattling on about the same thing for 2 years or whatever. We have to keep talking. We have to be saying for crying out loud. Have a think. Look at this from a fresh angle. And just keep trying. I know we're in echo chambers with Facebook and what have you. We just have to
Olly,
keep trying doing that. Robin,
Olly, what's your plan for Friday then? What are you hoping to achieve?
I want to prop up the numbers with one person, just one more person in that number to try and increase the numbers, and I hope that enough people do the same. And personally, I want to get some interviews and just see the spirit of it. I want to see people that are there right now in the comments. God bless you, and give you a big hug, because you have kept me going over the last little while and what have you. That's very important to me. This is a community that's become very, very important to many, many of us, I think, beyond Brexit and beyond what is now a question of democracy. But beyond that, Robin, I'm kind of wondering what is going to happen here. Actually, that leads me very nicely into a conversation I had earlier with Bill Etheridge, who probably can't make it onto the show tonight. He said he might call in, or maybe not. But he said, why don't we have a quick chat, do a quick recorded chat and discuss this? Because I wanted to... my point is, the 29th is not enough. We got to do it. We should all be there if we can. If we can't be there, if we can help in some other way by promoting things and sharing things and what have you, all of that's useful too. I don't buy these people that say, oh, your kind of armchair warrior type stuff is pretty useful. I don't buy that at all. Because if we weren't doing this kind of stuff that we're doing online, none of us would have any knowledge at all. But we do have to go. We do have to go beyond that. And the people that can get there should get there. The people that can't get there, they can help in other ways. But it's not just the 29th. I think it is every day thereafter in Parliament Square until we force the government's hand. We need people seeing us. We need people like Dave Simpson that came on the show last night, who's getting people to honk their horns by unfurling, banners, honk for Brexit or what have you. And it was awesome what these people are doing. People like Jack Jackson from Rolling Thunder, who is getting people to do ghost flows around the country and things like that. All of these things add up. Ultimately, what we need to do somehow, in my opinion, is to encourage a general strike. We really, really do. And I know people are going, oh God, I can't even afford the end of the month. And I understand that. Believe you me, I understand that. This show has raised 90 quid this year. 90 quid. In donations. But the fact is that if we don't sort this out, we're losing our country. We are losing our country, and we are losing
Olly,
our culture off the back of that. We need, I guess if I gave you a keyword, Robin, momentum. Momentum. We need to create momentum.
So what do you advocate in terms of action? In terms of direct action, what do you advocate, Olly?
A general strike, I think, really. People to down tools, to refuse to pay tax, things that don't hurt other people. And I mean, even paying tax at the moment is kind of, you don't pay your tax, then you're kind of there's some criminal stuff going on. But for example, I'll give you a good example of a tax not to pay, absolutely 100% not to pay, to refuse to pay. And that's the BBC license fee. Cut the tongue from the head of the snake, stop paying for propaganda, and clog up the courts if you want. I mean, you can just tell the BBC, I never watch that stuff, even if you do. You can, which I do, by the way. And if they want to take me to court, great, because my word, we'll have a wonderful chat about Jimmy Savile's connections in the BBC. Yeah, let's do it, BBC. But on the other hand, I think that, and about propaganda, but on the other hand, I think there's a great case, a really, really strong case for people not to have to pay their license fee anymore. The BBC has become so clearly partisan and anti-British. So that's a good example. But the bottom line, Robin, is I think we need to create more and more awareness, and we need to... we have an opportunity on the 29th. The 29th, not only will the whole world be looking at the UK, but the UK will be very introspective as to what's going on. If the BBC isn't covering it properly, they will be seen for not covering it properly. There will be streams galore coming out of London. They might try and close us down. Yeah, sure. But they won't be able to close everything down because they want their mobile phones running in SW1, don't they? We have to... use this opportunity, in my opinion, as a springboard to create a momentum and to see and to hope, beyond hope, that there's enough people that are not complacent or far less complicit and will actually, say, you know what, yeah, damn, we got to join in. We got to get down to Parliament Square. We got to join these guys. It's not just the 29th, it's the whole of the next month, or whatever it is. It has to carry on. We got to keep it going, and we got to up the numbers and see what mushrooms. Let me play this, Robin, from Bill.
Yeah.
And I started off by asking him what was going on in his neck of the woods.
Right, I'm ready.
What's the spirit where you are in the EU Parliament building? I guess no.
Bedlam, chaos. Strasbourg, I don't think he's ever seen anything like this. Absolute hostility towards the UK, and feeling of almost end of day. It's quite bizarre. I've never known anything quite like it.
Wow, incredible. Well, they deserve everything they get. Bar violence, no, we've got to be good. Yeah,
I mean, the important message is to be there, be loud, wave your flags, make a noise, let people know what you think, but for God's sake, don't overstep the mark for no other reason than it makes us the bad guys, and we are not the bad guys. We're the good guys, and we have to maintain that.
Lawful rebellion, that's the key. It has to be within the law. We have to respect the police. At the end of the day, they're doing their job, or they think they are, and we have to try and understand that, I guess.
Yeah, and it just doesn't do us any favours to be seen to be doing anything different. We have to understand we're trying to achieve something here. We're not doing this for self-indulgence. We're doing this because we want to save our country and save democracy. So we must make sure that we do not play into the hands of the people who want to crush freedom and democracy. And that means, be rebellious, be noisy, stand your ground, but for goodness sake, don't overstep the mark, because it'll be used against us forever and a day.
The only thing that concerns me, it strikes me that the 29th alone isn't going to be enough. I mean, personally, I'm packing my sleeping bag. I'm wondering how long I'm going to be in London. I'm supposed to be coming back on next Tuesday to where I live, but I'm not sure that will actually happen. What do you think? Is the 29th enough?
No, nowhere near enough. It has to be a start. It has to be a point where we make our stand. But it's the beginning of the next phase of the battle. And this is going to go on until we leave. And there's a series of important dates. There's the 12th of April. After that, there's the 22nd of May. And then after that, there's a date at the end of June that might come into play. So we have to understand that there are key dates along the way. And at each key date, we have to make a stand. And every time, we have to be loud.
Just one sec. Hold on a sec. Bill Cash.
This is why I asked in an intervention as to what the outcome was of the Joint Committee on Statutory Instruments today, and I made the reference to the question of whether or not there was proper consideration of the question of whether or not it was intra-vires or ultra-vires. I do not know the answer to that question, but it's because I haven't been given the information. And I asked the Minister to check whether that was the case. Did they consider the question of vires in relation to the issue?
Can they do it? Is it within their remit? Are they allowed to do it?
Now, the intention of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, is to be found solely in Acts of Parliament. It is not shown by resolutions of the House of Commons, unless an Act of Parliament itself says otherwise, such resolutions in practice do not have effect. Under the principles of public international law, a state is entitled to invoke the fact that its apparent consent to be bound by an international agreement has been expressed in violation of a provision of its internal law, if the violation is manifest, defined as it happens in the words, quotes, objectively evident, and concerns a rule of internal law of fundamental importance, and I refer here to Article 46 of the Vienna Convention. These criteria are clearly satisfied, so that on the face of it there is a manifest violation of our internal constitutional law. It is completely and totally unlawful, and it is absolutely abominable that we should be faced with having to vote on the specious grounds of a so-called uniformity, which the Minister has put forward. I don't blame him personally, because, quite frankly, I forgive him. I ask him to forgive me for suggesting that he's taking advice from other persons who are purporting to be learned in the law. But I'm afraid they are entirely wrong. That is the point. And Lord Panic himself only yesterday raised these very questions himself. And Lord Panic, of course, is a most distinguished lawyer. In fact, he was the lawyer for the plaintiff, Gina Miller, in the case which required the Act of Parliament, the Notification of Withdrawal Act. Lord Panic knows what he's doing. In fact, I go so far as to say I actually instructed him with others in relation to the Rees-Mogg case back in 1993. So I know a little bit about the brilliance of Lord Panic. Lord Panic says the legal concerns which some lawyers have expressed is that the power to specify the day and time when the treaties have ceased to apply is not satisfied by identifying two possibilities. It is not possible, if this SI is enacted, to identify exit days simply by reading it. He draws attention to this point, but I think it is worth considering the fact that Lord Panic is not to be taken for granted, and indeed, for that matter, the Lord Panic has raised serious doubts about this matter, Mr. Speaker. I'll certainly give way.
But I think the House will be relieved to know that it is to be spared a dilation on the matter of Lord Panic's involvement in the Rees-Mogg case, of which sparing I think I can comfortably be reassured by the Honourable.
Okay. So basically, that's going back to what Robin and I were discussing a minute ago, folks. And Bill Cash is still pursuing this question, which was very relevant last night. And if you didn't see last night's show, watch it, because Robin Tilbrook was absolutely fascinating, and what he is doing is fascinating. Let's just hear the rest of what Bill was saying.
No, nowhere near enough. It has to be a start. It has to be a...
Okay, I want to go back to this. Concerns me. It strikes me that the 29th alone isn't going to be enough. I mean, personally, I'm packing my sleeping bag. I'm wondering how long I'm going to be in London. I'm supposed to be coming back on next Tuesday to where I live, but I'm not sure that will actually happen. What do you think? Is the 29th enough?
No, nowhere near enough. It has to be a start. It has to be a point where we make our stand. But it's the beginning of the next phase of the battle. And this is going to go on until we leave. And there's a series of important dates. There's the 12th of April. After that, there's the 22nd of May. And then after that, there's a date at the end of June that might come into play. So we have to understand that there are key dates along the way. And at each key date, we have to make a stand. And every time we have to be loud, we have to be boisterous, we have to be patriotic, we have to be full of good humour, at the same time as saying we're not going to take any more messing, and we have to be the good guys. That's such an important message, because there's so many undecided people out there who, a little bit like sheep at times, and they can be guided by the wrong people. We need to make sure that we're the good guys and they see we're the good guys.
Bill Etheridge, thank you so much. I know you're busy. I know you've got so much to do. It's a crazy week. God bless you. We're so grateful for what you're doing. And, Godspeed to us all.
Thank you so much. And to everyone out there, keep your heads up, keep battling. This ain't over yet.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, all right. So that was Bill Etheridge earlier, just in Strasbourg. And before he was about to go back in, and I don't know, give someone like Donald Tusk a smack round the head or something. Only joking. He basically...
Yeah, very good. I mean...
Go on, Robin.
No, I was just going to say, so Bill Etheridge is a UKIP MEP, isn't he?
Well, no, he quit. He quit UKIP. He's an MEP still. And I have to say, people said he should have quit as an MEP when he left UKIP. But personally, I'm really pleased. I don't really care what party he's with. I'm really pleased that we've still got some representation in that chamber, hopefully trying to convince the likes of the Salvinis and all the rest of it, or the MEPs from Italy or Hungary or Poland, to please, as Farage was pleading with them earlier in the chamber this morning, to say, please do not allow this extension to happen. I don't know. Carry on, Robin, please.
I'm just going to say there's a couple of things that I've just sort of spotted that have been going on whilst we've been chatting. So I don't know if you're aware, the government has tabled a motion for tomorrow requesting that the House of Commons sits on Friday. So that has quite an interesting impact, I think. Mm-hmm. There are supposedly, I think somebody said, I saw somewhere there were 9 or 10 different marches at different times of the day.
Yes.
On Friday. The Leave Means Leave rally is in Parliament Square at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
So they'll be doing their long march. So I know there's been a lot of criticism of the Leave Means Leave march, but the number of miles that those people are doing per day means there are only going to be small numbers. There aren't that many people who can give a day up, take a day off work, and physically can walk 20 miles a day, which is what they're doing.
That march on Friday, so that people know, it starts in Fulham. It starts. No, it doesn't. I got it on. I got it from Leave Means Leave's PR agency earlier because I was trying to get press accreditation, and you don't need a press accreditation apparently, as it turns out. But anyway, they said to me that the march starts at the park in Fulham, and look, I put it on my timeline. If you look on my timeline, Olly Facebook. Whatever it is /Olly Con, and it is on there. I've put it down there. In fact, it should be on the Daily Brexit page as well. I'm pretty sure I put it there as well. But yes, please carry on, Robin. Yes, they're sitting on Friday in the Parliament. That's awesome.
That's great news, yeah, because it means that they'll actually be there. I've just copied and pasted the address. You're absolutely right. It's Fulham, near Fulham Football Club. Stevenage Road in Fulham. I've just posted that into the comments so people can see that there.
Good man.
So yeah, that's the final day.
Is it some park? Is it some park? I can't remember what it's called in Fulham.
Bishop's Park.
Bishop's Park.
Fulham, yeah.
11 o'clock kickoff, no?
11:30 kickoff, yeah.
Right, okay.
So they'll be and they'll be marching from there to Parliament Square for the rally, which is at 4 o'clock. So for those people who don't want to do the march, you can just arrive for the rally.
Yes.
There is actually an event set up on Eventbrite for that. If you want to go there, and you can put your details in, and therefore they can contact you with any information regarding that that they wish to, which might be useful. I've done that just in case there is stuff they need to get out there to us.
Yeah. But you can just turn up. You don't have to register for everything. Crying out loud, it's a free country today. Maybe not in a couple of days' time, but today, I think. Go on, please, Rob.
Yeah, matter of opinion. So that's that one. So I think on Friday that's good because it means if Parliament is sitting, that's great news. It means that the sense. I mean, I was concerned that the 29th was going to be a day when there were going to be no members of Parliament in there, which kind of doesn't matter completely, but it's just a little better, isn't it, to have members of Parliament.
Let's drown them out. Let's drown out that chamber. Go on.
Yeah, and actually those people having to struggle in and out of Parliament because they see there's lots of, there are lots of people milling around. I've got no sense, frankly, as to how many people are going to wind up being in London on Friday. I mean, it could be absolute gridlock or it could be a modest number. I hope very much that as many people as possible will just head to London for the day on Friday. That's certainly what I'm doing. I'm urging everybody that can to do that. The other thing is this, which has just disappeared off my screen, which I thought was quite an interesting thing. Yep. So the ERG, the European Research Group, had a meeting immediately after Theresa May's meeting with the 1922 committee. And it says, I'm reading this on the Sky News website, it said that Steve Baker, who is one of the deputies of the ERG, gave a very impassioned speech. His voice was cracking with emotion, so much so that at the end he was hugged by Jacob and others at the top table. Baker asked, "What is our liberty for, if not to govern ourselves? Like all of you, I've wrestled with my conscience about what to do. I could tear this place down and bulldoze it into the river. These fools and knaves and cowards of voting on things they don't even understand. We've been put in this place by people whose addiction to power without responsibility has led them to put the choice of no Brexit or this deal. I may yet resign the whip than be part of this. So he was obviously hitting back at people like Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson, who've crumbled and said that they'll support the Prime Minister's deal. He was hitting back at those people.
I don't understand for the life of me how people can put the whip remotely in balance with the future of their country. To me, it's like nothing compared to... People love to be members of clubs, though, don't they? They love their clubs and all the rest of it. Their drinks in the bars and I don't know. It's just I find it absolutely unbelievable. Now, okay,
but Mark Francois, who is the other deputy of the ERG, very has impressive. Said,
what's he been saying now?
When he was asked, I mean, he's a man of he doesn't use words unnecessarily when he doesn't have to. I think actually he's known as the whip of the European Research Group rather than deputy, but he's very often credited with being deputy, rather like Steve Baker. But he said when he was asked about it, he didn't give a long speech like Steve Baker, who just said, are you going to vote for the Prime Minister's deal? He said, no chance. So he's solid.
Good for him. Good for him and good for us. For him. Okay, all right. With regards, whilst the panto continues in the House of Commons, that is awesome. They're going to be there Friday. That is all the more reason to be in Parliament Square on Friday to drown them out. And I will be following them around with my microphone, ask them about Tim Fortescue and paedophiles taking us into the EC and stuff like that, and basically making them feel really uncomfortable, I hope. But there was a very good point or interesting point from Warren Whiteley, who said, look, Olly, mate, you are kind of sticking up for the police a bit. The fact is, you're going to see on Friday that it is the police versus the people. And the truth is, Robin, he's got a good point. And there are a lot of thugs in the police and we've had ex-cops on this show who, old school cops, that when they ticked you off when you're a teenager or something, you kind of you couldn't help but respect them, really, in a way. It isn't so much like that anymore, is it? There are far, far, far more bad cops that really just want to put the boots into you. Warren has got a point, Robin. We cannot have violence, though, because otherwise, surely, as Bill Etheridge said in that clip, it's going to be used against us. I don't know. What's your take on this? I mean, I remember, for example, the poll tax riots in the 80s. I mean, that actually, at the time, the police seemed pretty aggressive, herding us onto Hyde Park. But I think it's going to be worse.
I think the risk is, Olly, that there are people who are so frustrated now they want to go out and smash something up. That's the risk, and that's what's going to be quite interesting.
It's going to be used against us.
Fortunately, I don't think we're going to have Remainers out there. We're not going to have a Remain march meeting a Leave march. It's all looking like it's all Leave marches. So providing things don't kick off, people don't start smashing things up, then I think it'll be manageable. But it could all go horribly, horribly wrong. Yeah.
I guess better to smash something up than smash up a policeman. If you were another human being. But really, just no. Any of that is going to be used against us, and we've got to be good. We have to be seen to have the moral high ground here, which we do, but we would lose that. Hold on, let me take some comments on this, because I'm sure a lot of people are commenting on this. I'm sure the frustration will be here, and see what people say about this, because I'm quite worried about this. Tony Brand, wow, guys, just found you incredible. I'm trying to get as many people up to London on Friday as possible. Cool, bless you, Tony, and welcome to the show. Lee Jones, Tommy for couple things up his sleeve for the big screen. Good.
Can I interject?
Yes, please.
I mean, there's Sam Phipps has said there'll be plenty of infiltrators planted amongst us to goad us into misbehaving. Yeah. Actually, funny enough, let me just tell you a little bit of a story about exactly that. I was in Parliament Square last week before, and there was a big group of yellow vest lads who were surrounded by all the people outside Parliament, the Remain campaigners outside Parliament. And I sort of walked up to this one guy. He looked a little bit in shock. I said, "You okay?" And he said, "Oh, I just had my phone smashed." And I said, "Oh, what happened?" He said, "I was just attacked by one of those people on the Remain side with a like an umbrella. They just, for no apparent reason, he just attacked me with it." I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "You know, smashed my phone and everything." I said, "Did you retaliate?" He said, No. He said, I just kind of get a feeling that's what they're trying to do. They were trying to incite me to start." And I said, I was talking to a bunch of these guys, and I said, "I should just go home, guys, because otherwise, if that's what they're trying to do is trying to goad you into violence, then eventually they'll get there. They'll do something that will provoke you enough to make you feel that you've got to defend yourselves, and then it's too late." And I looked around and I said, "Well, look how many cameras there are." And there was literally 10 media. I mean, not phones, but proper cameras trained on this group. I said, "I think you're being set up. I should go." And so they did. They all walked off down the road for a bit to sort of regroup and have a think about what was really going on. But I think that was exactly what was unfolding there at that moment.
That sounds like an Antifa type character trying to create something. And then the BBC, guess what side they're going to take?
Exactly.
They're going to use that against us. That's the problem. I'm not saying that there's not justification here. I'm not saying that necessarily. But look, Stavros, after Friday, common law ceases to exist in any form, shape or size. Alfred the Great's bones are rattling in the ground. You will be signed up, lock, stock and barrel, to continental Napoleonic law. Chelsea Bob is... Go on.
That was an interesting thing that Robin Tilbrook brought up last night, wasn't it? The difference between European law, or largely Napoleonic or Roman law, and common law in the UK. It's a hugely different system.
Yes, it is. It is, absolutely. Elaine Williams is agreeing with Warren. He's right, Ollie. Rick Bond, 9 years into this. I'm not stopping now. James Miller, Ollie and Robin, Antifa has already said they're going to be there to start trouble. Yeah, no, I'm sure they are. Mary Monk, the ERG are fighting their own party, the opposition and the media and EU. It's either May's deal or no Brexit. May's deal is not a deal, Mary. I'm sorry. It's not a deal. It's a treaty. The EU have called it a treaty. I refer you back to the beginning of the show. But it is not a deal for Brexit. To use the words Brexit and deal one alongside the other is incorrect. And that's the kind of information I would expect on the BBC. Her deal is not a deal for Brexit in any way, shape or form. Let's be quite clear about that.
It is just another EU treaty, replacing one treaty with another. It's that simple. Yeah.
I'm sorry to have to tell you that, Mary. Elaine Williams, but what use is a calm approach? The thing, okay, let's say we kick off. Let's say that we let ourselves go and throw some punches and probably let off some steam, yeah. And I'll tell you, I got pressure all the way down my backbone whenever I talk about this, and have had for months. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. It would be quite nice to let off some steam in a way. And plus, I do a bit of karate, yeah. So I mean, it could be quite cool. I could practice, but the fact is that it's going to be used against us. It's going to be used against us. It's going to be... Anna Soubry was right. They are thugs when they're not. James Goddard was a gentleman when he was hassling Anna Soubry, I thought. He did it with a smile. He looked like a bit of a cheeky chappy.
Yeah.
I didn't think that he was a thug at all, but she said, and she branded him, and the whole media got behind her, and he didn't even throw a punch. You imagine punches going and all the rest of it, where that leads. They bring out the God knows what nasties from the police, the thug squad or whatever, and we're not going to get Brexit that way. It's just not going to happen. Whereas And we're not going to encourage the numbers to join us in Parliament Square. This is my opinion, yeah. This is my opinion, Elaine. I'm not having a go at you because it's a democracy, yeah. I'm often wrong about a lot of things, but I genuinely think that if we do this, we're not going to get the numbers come and join us. And it's not just about the 29th. We need them there on the 30th. On the 1st, on the 2nd, we need them there every single day. We need tens of thousands of people in Parliament Square every single day for the foreseeable future until we get our Brexit and our country back. And we're not going to achieve that. What we might achieve is bringing about martial law or turning off the internet and we're all canned off Facebook so we can't even communicate. Oh, we might achieve that. But I don't think we're going to achieve getting our country back. That is my opinion. Now, Dave Fergie disagrees. He says, I somehow think peaceful protest will not work. Remember, 1776 and the fight for American independence. Dave, you could be right. You could be right. I'm just saying what I see, the way I see it. Mary Monk, come back, and she says, I saw somewhere that Antifa are going to cause trouble. And Mary, I'm sure they will. Gail Marie Gandhi, no one has the right to tell us we can't protect ourselves. Oh, that's different. Protecting yourself is different. But even then it's difficult, isn't it? Because the BBC, for example, they'll use it against us. It's so easy. Again, Robin was asking me about how the media work and all the rest of it. They can spin a story any which way. And they'll spin it against us, I'm afraid. That seems to me. Amanda Momtazi, who I asked her something on here the other day, and I went off on a rant, and she messaged me afterwards, and she said, Olly, I wasn't having a go at you, Amanda. God bless you. And I said I would blow her a kiss, and so there you go. Steve Richards. And she said something, and now it's gone above the parapet, so I can't see what she said. Dave Simpson, who is our man, is getting everybody to blow their horns on the motorways, giving everybody the horn. God bless you, Dave Simpson. The game has changed. We are not debating Brexit. Democracy, which has massive public support. That's right. It's not about Brexit anymore. It's about democracy. Quite right. Steve Richards, Antifa were in Westminster for the Great Brexit Betrayal March. So they're bound to be there Friday. Yes. And Jamie Mitchell, look at that dude that passed the not to Subri's security. Oh, yeah, that's right. Somebody, yeah, that's right. I mean, some security guy of Anna Soubry was passed something by an infiltrator, somebody that infiltrated Jamie Goddard's group of the Yellow Vests. That's correct. And Anna Soubry denied it about the same day as well, which I thought was very interesting. She didn't ignore it, she denied it. So that was quite telling. But you can see the video of that. There was infiltration going on there. Rodney Trotsky, hey Rodney, Bill Cash just had front bench, very squirmy. Looks like if they vote down this tonight, we are out Friday. Lots of laughs. I think he's being kind of satirical. John Middleton, don't worry, all legal, seen as true, but fiction, just reality for realm reality. What is not real? James Miller, it was Tusk who let it slip. It was a treaty. Yeah, it's not a deal. May's deal is what the EU refer to as a treaty. A treaty, yeah? A treaty. Matt Waterhouse, I know it's difficult, Robin and Ollie, but please can you keep the live stream open until 9 p.m. to see the results of tonight's votes? I would love to, but I know that I can't do that for various reasons. And I don't know about Robin, but look, the bottom line is that the Commons, we've just got to forget it. It's game over with them. They are not going to allow it. I don't know, Robin, is there any way, any which way that we could see Brexit now when it was, according to the Act of Parliament, the 29th?
Well, it's not just what we're being told, again, sort of the media narrative, is that the only two options now are the Prime Minister's, in inverted commas, deal, or no Brexit at all. Now, certainly what's true is that it would appear a majority of parliamentarians are opposed to no deal, but no deal is still the legal default. There is this question as to whether or not the date has actually changed. Bill Cash, as we heard earlier, is putting more hair on that even than Robin Tilbrook did last night. He's coming up with more detailed explanation of the legal objection to that than Robin Tilbrook did. And as somebody said, he walked out of the chamber a while back and was followed by the Attorney General. So I think they're probably having some discussions over that. I mean, there is a possibility that the government wants no deal, and this is all just subterfuge, just to let the clock run down without any intervention from anybody else in Parliament. And some people may think that's the case. I don't think we can rely on that. I think we rely on wild theories too often in these situations. We rely on individuals saying, "Oh no, it'll be fine. Don't worry. We've got a plan." No, I think we just have to work on the basis of what we can see that's evident in front of us.
I agree with you.
So,
if that is the case, then I owe Theresa May an enormous apology and would maybe send her a bunch of flowers. But I'll tell you, I would be absolutely amazed.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, Matt Walsall says Robin Tilbrook probably doesn't want to show all his cards yet. Robin H. Yeah, but I don't think that's what's going on. Actually, I think I don't think it's Robin Tilbrook's not wanting to show his cards. I think he's concerned that Bill Cash is making the position very clear directly with the government, and he thinks that was a bad idea. Better to let it run down. Better let the clock run down to Friday and then make this point. That's his argument anyway. But that's possible. But I'm not going to rely on that.
No, that's
what's
right.
kind of interesting is, bear in mind, as things stand at the moment, if you look at the parliamentary calendar, and I will just drop a link in the comments to the parliamentary calendar. So if anybody actually would like to have a look, it's there. You'll see that Parliament at the moment is due to rise for the Easter recess next Thursday. And then, so we've only got, after Friday, we've only got another 4 parliamentary days before the Easter recess. So in that time, supposedly, unless we're going to just go out by default on the 12th, an Act of Parliament has got to be passed in those 4 days. That's not going to happen. So there's still, there's still all kinds of machinations that could occur. It sounds to me like the ERG will split. We don't know. There was supposed to be an announcement this evening from the DUP. I don't know what that is. Have you heard about that, Ollie? Have you seen that anywhere this evening since we've been on, Ollie?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen anything since we've been on. No, about that.
Well, there was supposed to be an announcement from the DUP, but I don't know what it was because I haven't seen it reported yet. But I mean, there's a lot still to play for. We don't really know which way this is going, and I think the ERG is probably going to split. I think you're going to have some ERG members who will go with the deal, and some who won't.
Yes, I agree with you.
And Steve Baker's impassioned speech that I related earlier, I think, is a reflection of that. He's absolutely spewing, as he must have been, because he was a friend of mine was at Parliament Square yesterday. Steve Baker walked past, so he tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Can I just have a quick chat?" And he put his phone up and recorded the chat. And Steve said, "Oh, Jacob Rees-Mogg is absolutely solid. He won't move." Only to discover a couple of hours later that Jacob Rees-Mogg had written this piece for the Daily Mail today, saying that he was prepared to crumble. So there we go.
Okay, Charlotte Jameson says, why don't we just sit down on all the streets around Westminster, around the Parliament building? Now, considering they're in there, that's a good idea. that surely is a very good idea. If we can effectively block their access and get Guido Fawkes to get in there and do the that's not a bad idea.
There's a few tunnels under Parliament, so you gotta deal with that one.
It would be quite a big symbolic gesture to stop them being able to come out the front door of Westminster, would it not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's as I say, there are quite a few tunnels out of the parliamentary estate, so it's quite difficult to do that. But
hopefully they jump from the bar into the river and solve us a big problem. Patriots should celebrate Friday and let the High Court deal with the unlawful MPs on Monday. Or Rachel Barrett, I'll tell you what, if you've got faith in the High Court to do that, I don't think you've been paying attention. That perhaps is Robin Tilbrook's line. I really do think that we've got to. I really do think that we've got to attack this non-violently, in my opinion, but from as many angles as we possibly can, and not take anything for granted. It seems to me. John D. Go on, Robin.
No, I was just saying I was in town the other day and was coming over Westminster Bridge in a taxi, and taxi ground to a halt, and the guy driving the cab said, "Oh, sorry, mate, I forgot to tell you we've got a big strike on the taxis." And I sort of walked all the way through Parliament Square, and all the taxis in London had come into Parliament Square and just stopped. So the place was totally gridlocked, and it sort of gave me a kind of a foretaste of what I hope will happen on Fridays. Will absolutely be ram-packed with thousands and thousands of people. Nobody will be able to move in or out of the area as a result.
People have to really allow for heavy pedestrian traffic in London. So wherever you're coming from, allow for that, and give it an extra 2 or 3 hours to get to where you need. It's like it's a massive snowstorm, that kind of scenario in London. John Middleton, Act of Parliament, and not without both negative and a CT contract. I don't understand that. Matt Waterhouse, Robin Tilbrook probably doesn't want to show all his cards yet. Robin Horsley, he's saying. Amanda Momtazi says, "I can see pink piggies flying in the sky." I think she's referring to the prospect of actually having some kind of Brexit on Friday. True Brexit, no deal Brexit is the only true Brexit, it seems to me. Lee Jones, I think you're right, Robin. They are running down the clock. So Lee agrees and thinks that Theresa May is actually on our side after all. I'll tell you, if she is, I will send her an enormous bunch of flowers to apologise. I would be amazed. Sarah Boland, I think May would be buried under an avalanche of flowers if it was true. And Christopher Michael Baxter is saying, let's remember, I for one am unashamed for wanting to live, work and raise our children in an accountable democracy, for wanting transparency in how and where our taxes are spent, for wanting to remain outside of an unaccountable EU superstate. Chris Rumbold, NATO exercise joint warrior. Important people, potentially. This happens twice yearly, every year since 1946. The 10,000 is all services from 13 NATO countries. It's coincidence that the UK is hosting this spring, and that is the case, and that starts the day after Brexit Day, which isn't Brexit Day apparently, the 29th. Apparently, 10,000, and I think they're going to be doing manoeuvres, I heard from Helen Lasky-Smith, on Dartmoor. I don't know, do you believe in coincidence? Maybe it is a coincidence. I don't know whether to worry about that or not. Robin, you got any thoughts about that? These 10,000 foreign troops going to be in the UK? Does it concern you at all, or is it something we shouldn't really be too het up about?
Well, I mean, it would be quite an incredible demonstration, wouldn't it, of the overbearing EU superstate if foreign troops were to be deployed against British people. I think so. I think it would be a PR disaster for.
I agree.
For the EU. So I think it's very unlikely, frankly. Therefore, logically. to be any kind of any of that going on.
Yeah.
But we're in uncharted territory, aren't we? We've never had this. This is the closest we've come to this was the demonstrations over the Iraq, the war in Iraq. I was in London that day, and it was a huge, vast numbers of people. Feeling was running very, very high, but I think this is far deeper.
I agree with you. So your plan?
Yeah.
Let's swap plans here, because you're going to be doing you're going to be live streaming for the Great Brexit Debate, yeah?
Well, I'll probably do some live streaming and some filming for stuff for later, because my thinking is that I've done a lot of film interviews over the last year. Done quite a few as a result of working with the Bruges Group, and I'm thinking I would like to produce a film documentary out of a lot of this stuff at some point in the future. So I'll be both filming for that for later use, really, and for stuff for the Great Brexit Debate to go up next week. But I think also, largely inspired by the experience of doing this with you, Ollie, I think live streaming is going to be quite important, and I hope what we'll see is something I saw this time last year. Basically, there was. Do you remember the Count Dankula case this time last year?
Yeah, the dog doing the Nazi salute.
Yeah, so there was a Scottish comedian who calls himself Count Dankula. I can't remember his real name, and he taught his girlfriend's pug dog to do a Nazi salute, and the Scottish police went sort of searching for somebody who was prepared to say that they were offended by that.
Really? You think that they actually went to they enticed the situation? You think?
Yeah, that would appear to be what occurred.
I didn't know that. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a march in London as a response to that. The day that he was sentenced in court, I think he got an £800 fine, and so I was out with a couple of people doing some filming. We were with a lawyer called Helen Dale, an Australian lady actually, who is a brilliant lawyer. She's also a writer. She's a very well known writer in Australia, but lives here now. And she was one of the people speaking at that march, and it was a march about freedom of speech, and I hope it was a really quite an extraordinary event actually. I felt it was horrible to be in the capital city of my country, and things have gone so wrong that we're having to march through the streets of the capital city for freedom of speech. They were all the marchers had their mouths taped up with
did they
sellotape in crosses over their mouths. Every statue that went past, they taped over the mouth on the statue. It was visually the optics they did really well. And I think I hope we'll have some of that sense on Friday, but I think it's going to be pretty chaotic. I think you've got all of these different marches going on.
That's a good idea. Bring tape and tape up all the statues' mouths, because it's the same thing, isn't it? If we're not being allowed our say, it's the same thing. Again, it's freedom of speech. I mean, your vote at the ballot box, it isn't, but it should be the ultimate token of your speech, of your opinion. I would have thought.
I think the way that Robin Tilbrook put it the other day was pretty good. He talks about sort of liberal Democrats. People who, and I think we see this with parliamentarians, members of parliament at the moment, they really do think that their job is really just to ignore the public. They really do just tell people one thing in order to get elected, and then do another thing in parliament. And they think that's legitimate. And we've got to kill that. We've got to crush. We've got to overthrow all of that thinking. People in parliament have really got to see themselves as public servants again.
I don't know really quite what else to say. I mean, I feel forlorn. I feel flummoxed, confused. We're not really confused anymore. it seems to me pretty clear what's happened, what's going on, where we're going, and the fact is that it's now a new chapter. It became a new chapter really well a couple of weeks ago or so, when it was absolutely clear that there was no way this Parliament was going to obey their own Act of Parliament and come out on the 29th. But we are in a new phase, people, of our British history, actually, and Friday is a historical day.
It is.
We have to be there, people. We have to be there, and we have to be supporting people that are going, that maybe if you can't be there, to help with a supply line and stuff like that as well. We have to be pulling together. This is it. We are at the precipice, and if we don't if we don't achieve what we need to here to regain our sovereignty, it's going to be a lot harder to do that down the road. And I really do think we have to just do what we can. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. I think it's going to be a huge uphill battle still. But on the other hand, if we could just create that momentum and get enough people to join us, not just on the 29th, but every day until we get our country back, then that's the only hope we got. I wouldn't rely on Robin Tilbrook, bless him. I'm very grateful for what he's doing personally. I fully support what he's doing. And one or two folks, one or two only, people, the Kate Hoes, the Marc Francois in the chamber, I will want to give them a big cuddle. But the fact is, we can't rely on these people because our democracy clearly has been sold out to fascism, and we really have to take it back. On Friday, I suggest that we try to be as symbolic as we possibly can. I will be wearing a poppy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we just got to, do what we can, people. We've got to be there, and we've got to be supporting it. Get on your yellow jackets, your yellow vests, whatever, in solidarity to our French neighbours. God bless them. It's not their fault that their political leaders are a bunch of bastards as well. But this is it. We are in new territory. I think Daily Brexit probably has pretty much run its course in this current format. And I want to thank you, everybody, for checking it out and enjoying it. Hopefully it's been useful. But the fact is that we are in new territory now. And it's going to be very, very interesting. For me personally, I'm just hoping to God that we do see enough of a turnout in central London, that we do see enough people that are willing to pick up the baton now and refuse to be crushed asunder by this plutocracy.
So what's the plan with the Daily Brexit then?
I don't know. I don't know, Robin. I don't know. I mean, it could well be that it's just rolling coverage as much as I can, as much as I've got batteries or what have you, from a mobile phone, to keep streaming from central London, and to try.
No, but it sounds like you're saying this is the end of the Daily Brexit in its current format.
Well, yeah, because I don't have this studio. I don't have all this kit on here. I can't be interviewing people so easily on this tracking device thing that I've got. All I can do really is.
So sorry, just to clarify, you'll be back in subsequent weeks, though.
Well, yeah, but I've no idea how long this is going to take in London, Robin, and I'm kind of really seriously considering just hanging out there for the duration. And trying to cover it, because the fact, if enough of you, enough of the folks of our wider Brexit community are going to be there, I want to try and cover it. I want to try and give it coverage, give it streaming, give it some quality coverage, and try and get this phone into the faces of MPs and get them to answer questions about, are you a paedophile, Ken Clarke? Because, this is what Tim Fortescue said, so I just wanted to reply to you. I think I will ask every MP, are you a paedophile? And explain why I'm asking that. I think I will. I think that it's time for shock jock tactics. so far as I'm concerned, as though I haven't been doing that already. But I think it needs to be on the ground now. It's all been too remote, which has been fine. But the fact is that now we are at the stage where our democracy isn't there. It has gone, and we know that definitively on Friday, and that does open up a new chapter. And this is a war, and we have to have people, numbers on the ground, just being there, all of us. And I think we need coverage, good coverage on the ground as well. And I want to try and help with that. So I don't know, frankly. I was watering my garden this afternoon, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm not sure the next time I'm going to be watering my garden. I don't know. I've got no idea. Okay. But I guess I'll know a bit more next week. If people do not pick up the initiative, pick up the baton now, if they really don't care, then I'll just come home and say, can't be asked. Okay. And then maybe I will change to the Daily Chaos, but or maybe I'll just keep going. Whatever. I will still be passionately keen to keep my sovereignty, to regain rather my sovereignty. But if now, given what we have seen, despite all the propaganda, despite the fact that so many people have been taken in. If now at this stage we don't see a sizable uptick in support of protest and helping the protesters, for people that can't protest themselves, to assist those people that are protesting, if we're not seeing that, then I'm not sure. Robin, I'll tell you a story, and I'll try not to cry.
Yeah, go for it. Can I just interject before you do?
Yeah, go on.
So there's a bit of news just come through. The DUP are not abstaining. They have issued a statement, a written statement now, saying that the withdrawal agreement's unacceptable. They haven't changed it, and therefore they'll be voting against the government. So that kills that one. It also puts people like Jacob Rees-Mogg in a difficult position, because they're not saying they're abstaining either.
Yes, so that's right.
We'll see what Mogg's reaction is to that.
That is good news.
See if that therefore means he will now vote against or not, or whether he will go the whole way and really capitulate and vote with the government. We'll see.
Where are you seeing that? Where are you seeing that story?
I'm on Sky News, the live page on Sky News.
Oh, that's terrific. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. But again, I just think, to be honest with you, it's part of the same panto. But nonetheless, that is good news. That's great news. I just wanted to say, my grandfather, he served during World War II, as many of our grandparents or great-grandparents did. He was on a battleship, swerving torpedoes. He was actually, in a way, lucky to be on the battleship, because whilst the battleship was the guns that the Germans wanted, of course, and so they were sending the torps at the battleship. But of course, it's the cruisers and the destroyers that take the torps to stop them getting to the big guns. And so he saw all these men in the water drowning, because they weren't allowed to pick them up, because they had to carry on before a torp did get through. And so it was all pretty horrid. 4 years that he was doing that, whilst my grandmother was helping to put out fires in London. And my mother was emigrated to the outskirts of London, where she was relatively safe, and thank God she wasn't abused either. It was all okay for her, pretty much. But 4 years he was away seeing this. He actually taught the men how to play chess to get them to forget about the fear that they had. He was a wonderful man. And I got a picture of him right there. And he, years later, he didn't talk about, you know what it was like with these guys. They didn't talk about the war very often. But years later, maybe a couple of decades, I don't know, but it's come through the grapevine to me. He said, if there was another war, I would be a conscientious objector. I would not fight in it. I would not do that. And the reason I wouldn't do it is because when I got home, they didn't care. They didn't care what I'd done. They didn't care what those men in the water who'd given up their lives had sacrificed. They didn't understand it. They just couldn't fathom it. And they never bothered to even think about it, especially. That was what he said. He was a junior officer on the HMS Anson. And I just think that's so terribly sad. And I tell you, I hope to God we don't see that now. I know that there's a lot of people that don't care because they're conditioned. And in a way, I feel sorry for them. And in a way, I kind of pity that. And in a way, I have empathy for that, because at least they have been conditioned. It's not their natural condition to not care. But nonetheless, it's extremely frustrating. But I just say we have to now. This is it, where we separate the wheat from the chaff from the wheat. This is where we will see who really, really cares about not only their country and their forefathers and everybody that fought for the country, that kept the country going, that took the telegrams, but also that care about their children. And I don't actually have children. And one of the reasons I don't have children was because I kind of looked at what was going on in this world and I thought, you know what, I'm not sure I want to do that. And as it turns out, I kind of had a point. But the fact is that I still believe, children or not, that we hold this world in trust for the next generation. And we need to see, and we will now see, as of Friday, where people really, really stand over this question of their very own identity. And I say to you people, God bless you, please, 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 please get out there. And if you can't get out there, just support the damn thing, yeah? Thank you.
Very good, Olly, yeah. No, I think that's very often the case in these circumstances. I've read stories of other people coming back from war and being dismayed that people just don't understand what it was all about. I think Tony Benn said, we every 1 or 2 generations we do have to fight to remind ourselves of the value of democracy. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what's going on. It's kind of fallen to us now to do that.
I think that we need a slightly more upbeat outro today. So here we go. Oh, blimey! I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Robin. This system is crap. I tried to time this. Yeah, I did that heartfelt story. Yeah, and I thought that okay, I'll get the music going just off the back of it. And of course, the damn thing didn't work. But look, hey, Robin, God bless you, man. I look forward to seeing you on much on
Friday.
On Friday, and give you a hug, man, and hopefully have a pint.
Yeah, absolutely.
Robin Horsley from the Great Brexit Debate. Thank you very much indeed, sir. This has been the Daily Brexit, and my word, I tell you what, look at all those love hearts. I tell you what, I can't wait to see some of you folks on Friday. It means so much. And whatever happens to the format, I'm still going to be hanging about and still going to be having a chat with you lot. I'll tell you, I promise you that. I'm Olly Connelly. I'll see you Friday. If Facebook bans me, you've got the link up the top there. I'll be on youtube.com/Daily Brexit, I suppose. And if they ban me, I don't know, I'll have hysterics. That's it, folks. Friday, 29th, D-Day.